Hello, and welcome again to interview sessions here at RootsTech. My name is Shannon Bennett. I am the creative director for the In-Depth Genealogist, along with my partner, Jen Alford, our publisher. And today we're very excited to have a few people to talk to us about genealogy and ethics. And can you go ahead and start introducing yourselves?
Sure. Judy Russell, I'm the legal genealogist, and I am from the United States.
And I'm Kirsty Gray, and I run a company called FamilyWise based in the UK.
And I'm Jill, also known as Jeannie Oz, from the land down under, Australia.
You have to be very specific with us, I guess. Just to make sure which land down under, right? Well, thank you, ladies, for joining us today. Ethics and genealogy can be very... While some people hope it's black and white, there are a lot of gray areas, which we discovered yesterday in the wonderful panel that Jill moderated. And if there were a few questions that I discovered people talking about on the way out. And yeah, there were. And you didn't actually get to all of the questions in the presentation. No. But what was one of the first ones that we wanted to talk about today, Jen?
Well, the first thing we wanted to talk about was... one of the things we want to talk about was terms of service. And, when we get those requests, hey, can someone do a lookup? What does that mean as far as, some of the big websites that we've all paid subscriptions to use? So we kind of wanted to go around the circle and give your thoughts and how we as genealogists can ethically handle those kind of situations.
Well, I've written about this particular topic more than once as the legal genealogist. And the title of the post is Just Say No.
Right.
If someone asks me, does Ancestry have this document? I can answer that question. But ethically, if what they're asking me to do is to retrieve a document for them using my subscription, what they're asking me to do is the functional equivalent of taking something from my employer and giving it to them where they wouldn't go and do it with their employer. We all love the idea of having these records readily accessible online, but the fact of the matter is that we're only going to have records readily accessible online if somebody pays the bill.
Yeah.
And if we're all violating the terms of service, a contract that we enter into with each of these websites, we're going to lose access.
Right.
It's not right. We should just say no.
I think those three words are the critical ones. And I think the problem that we discussed on the panel yesterday, Jill, was there are a lot of Facebook groups that are designed to help people, but I don't think they actually help people to learn how to do the research. It's people saying, oh, I don't mind doing this, or I don't mind doing that. And as you say, that's just wrong, because somebody's digitized the records that we have already, but who's paying for the next raft that's going to be digitized that we all want to have access to?
Well, I'm paying and I feel violated.
Yeah, there you precisely.
So it really gets my, bristles up when I see those requests out there on Facebook. I wonder... if one of my kids decides they're getting into genealogy, I'm sorry, I might look up something for them.
But as a family member.
I don't think
not in a public forum.
When you don't know the person, or
I just think it is just not
wrong.
on.
It is a violation of the agreement that each of us enters into with these websites.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When you click through and you say, I understand the terms of use, you are entering into an agreement just like buying a car, buying a house.
Yeah.
And you can be sued, you can be thrown off the service and lose your right to ever deal.
Yeah.
I mean, do you really not want to be able to access Ancestry at 3 o'clock in the morning in your bunny slippers?
Exactly.
I do.
I totally do.
But I think, what you were saying now, actually, if somebody actually did do that to somebody and say X, Y, or Z is actually doing this, and there was somebody who was sort of like, not named and shamed, but a suit, maybe a lawsuit, whatever, then people would, I think, stop doing it so much.
I agree, but it's difficult for any of the companies to actively try to enforce this because they don't want to...
They don't see the things going on either.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
It's hard.
It's a real problem.
Right.
So the other big discussion that happened yesterday, since we'll only be able to cover a few topics, not an entire hour's worth in this session, was there was an extensive discussion on what exactly is plagiarism or attribution versus stealing. Because some people, I mean, I don't know how you all were taught in your schools. I mean, we're taught one thing in the United States on, you know, if it's more than 5 words or more than this, then that is considered plagiarism.
Right.
And certain times you ask for attribution. Sometimes you can just give attribution. Sometimes you actually have to get written permission.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of people, that is a very confusing area. Copyright in general is just a very confusing thing, unless that is your specialty. But do you have any guidelines for people on like when they should attribute versus when they should have a in-written agreement with an author or a artist? Or
No, part of the problem is that there is a confusion between copyright on one hand and plagiarism on the other.
Yes.
Two
You
different
can
things.
plagiarize without violating copyright. If you took something that was written in the 1800s and it was the best of times, it was the worst of times, that's plagiarism, but it's not copyright violation because the copyright is run. So we have to understand the distinction. Number one, we cannot take ideas, words, concepts that somebody else authored.
No.
That's plagiarism. And if it's 3 words, 4 words, that's too many. Put it in quotes, credit your source.
Right.
As genealogists, we all want to know where we got the information anyway.
Exactly.
It's citing our sources. So plagiarism should be the least of our issues.
good.
If it comes from somebody else, cite your source.
Yeah.
Now, if it's more than just a snippet, and I think 3 words
Okay, 3 words.
in quotes, 3 sentences, get permission.
Yeah.
If we follow that general rule, we're never going to go wrong.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Do you all follow the same thing? I mean, I'm sure you're taught maybe the same things in schools over there?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd say it's
Wonderful.
slightly
Good.
different,
You're out on your ear.
but I think, you know, ours is slightly longer than yours, perhaps 10 words rather than 5.
Yeah.
But it's much of the muchness. But I think the
Yes.
difficulty is that it's when you actually write that text. If I'm writing it from a website, same as Jill, same as Judy, you know, if you're writing it for your own website, it's your copyright. Whether you've got a C at the bottom or not,
Doesn't matter.
it's your copyright. It's my initial text.
Right.
But I think sometimes there's sort of woolly areas that if you're writing it for someone else and you haven't actually said, well, I'm writing it, but I give you permission to use it for your site, I
Right.
think that's where a lot of people have come unstuck. Is it mine? Is it that group that I've written for or whatever? And I think that's a lot of what people have come unstuck with.
Well,
here
that's an
and in the
international.
UK.
That's
Yes.
an
That's
international
Yeah.
issue because in the United States, that's crystal clear.
Right.
You do not lose any copyright in the United States unless there is a signed agreement or
And
you're an
that's exactly
employee.
the same as in the UK.
But it's
some
not
people don't understand
everywhere.
that.
So
Yeah.
that's
the
part of the
understanding.
problem.
Yeah.
Much more serious, however, is the general perception of the consumer across the world.
Right.
If it's online,
online,
it's
it's
fair
fair
game.
game.
And
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
not.
It's
It is
not.
not.
It is
fair
on
game.
the internet.
absolutely not.
That's right.
No,
It's
exactly
out
that.
there. Yeah.
And that is true across the world.
Absolutely.
There are 168 countries that have signed the Berne Convention, which is an international agreement on copyright.
Right.
And this concept that it is my property and my property until I say otherwise is absolutely uniform
Yeah.
across the Berne Convention countries. So if I'm putting it online, you ask my permission.
Right.
Absolutely.
I have never said no to a genealogist or a genealogical society that has asked my permission.
course.
But
But
I
it's
will come
different when
down
they-
on
yeah.
somebody like a ton
It's
of
a
bricks
bricks
if they don't
yeah.
ask.
Exactly.
Yeah, so often people ask me, what should I do? And my rule is, when in doubt,
Don't.
Ask.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
That's
Or
always
or
a
don't
good
do
rule.
it at all.
Or
and
ask.
also,
Yeah.
it never
Yeah.
hurts to ask.
No.
Absolutely.
If
Yes.
there's any shadow of doubt, then I
Right.
just don't do
Right.
it.
Well,
Right.
they
Don't do it.
are giving me the dirty signal that our
Already?
time. I know.
Already?
Can you
That
believe
flew
it?
by.
I'm sure what
This
they're
is-
actually saying is you've had 2 questions.
Oh, that's what
That's
that
it.
sign means. We'll let them know that later. But I wanted to thank you all for being here today.
No problem.
And I know we didn't have a lot of time because we could definitely go for hours on this subject and hours. But thank you for at least those were the two big things that Jen and I noticed walking out, people discussing. And we thought it would be great just to have other people's opinions for those who couldn't attend and have yours, of course, because everyone reads your blog, or they should. Everybody should. But thank you again, ladies, for joining us. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you so
Thank you for
much.
having us.
Thank everyone at home for watching today.
Thank you.